It's not just because your body is aging. The real problem is a silent enemy called neuromuscular disconnection. Little by little, it begins shutting down the deep muscle fibers responsible for your strength, stability, and joint protection. And the scariest part is that most people don't even notice it happening until constant pain begins, balance starts to fade, weakness appears in the legs, and that feeling sets in that the body no longer responds the way it used to. Centuries ago, the Shaolin monks discovered a powerful way to fight exactly this problem. While many men over 50 believe they need to lift heavier and heavier weights and perform repetitive movements until exhaustion, this strategy often accelerates joint wear and tear. Every heavy repetition creates constant friction in the knees, shoulders, and spine. Over time, this not only increases pain but also reduces the body's natural ability to generate real strength. In this video, you will discover 5 isometric exercises inspired by Shaolin methods that can rebuild impressive strength without destroying your joints. But before we move on to more advanced movements, we need to fix something fundamental: your body's structural tension. Without it, no exercise truly works the right way. And it all starts with the first exercise, the hollow body hold. At first glance, it looks simple. Many people even think it's just another ordinary ab exercise. But that is far from the truth. The goal here is not to do hundreds of crunches to get six-pack abs. The real purpose is to create a kind of deep muscular armor around the entire core region of the body. When you keep your legs elevated, your arms extended, and your lower back fully pressed against the floor, something extremely important happens. You deeply activate stabilizing muscles that normally become dormant after the age of 50. This exercise creates 360-degree protection around the spine. And that changes everything. Because true strength does not simply mean lifting weights at the gym. Real strength means being able to get out of bed without pain, carry groceries without injuring your lower back, climb stairs safely, and maintain physical independence for many years. But here's the interesting part. There is a safe way to reactivate this natural protection system of the body. And the first step is extremely important. Lie flat on your back on the floor. Now comes the most important rule of all. Press your lower back against the floor as firmly as possible. Imagine there is a coin underneath your back and you need to crush it. This activation completely changes the exercise. Next, squeeze your glutes tightly, slowly extend your legs, and keep them a few inches above the floor. Then move your arms behind your head. It sounds simple, but this is the moment when many people realize how much muscular connection they have lost over the years. There is one fundamental detail here. If your lower back lifts off the floor even by an inch, stop immediately. That means you lost the correct muscle activation and started placing pressure directly on the joints of the spine. The goal is never to suffer or compensate. The goal is to rebuild control. That is exactly how the Shaolin monks train the body. First mastering internal stability before seeking external strength. And don't try to progress too quickly. Your body needs to relearn this pattern. During the first week, keep your knees bent at 90 degrees. Slightly lift your head and keep your arms straight alongside your body, just a few inches above the floor. It sounds easy until you truly feel your deep core activating. Hold for 3 sets of 15 seconds. In the second week, begin extending only one leg. This increases the challenge without overloading your lower back. By the third week, try the full body extension, aiming to hold the position for up to 30 seconds with total control. And here is something few people understand. This exercise is not just for strengthening the abs. It creates the structural foundation for everything else. Without core stability, every movement of the body loses efficiency. Your knees suffer more. Your shoulders compensate more. Your posture worsens. Your balance decreases. But when this muscular corset starts functioning properly again, your entire body changes. You begin moving with more confidence, more stability, and less pain. The wall sit. This exercise is not about placing a heavy barbell on your back and destroying what is left of your knee cartilage. It is about building strong, resilient, and stable legs without any impact on the joints. And that completely changes the game for people over 50 years old. When you place your back against the wall and keep your knees bent, an extremely intense muscle activation occurs in the quadriceps, glutes, and stabilizing muscles of the legs. No jumping. No sudden movements. No repetitive friction inside the joint. The goal here is not to impress anyone by lifting heavy weights at the gym. The real goal is much more important. It is being able to get up from a chair effortlessly, climb stairs without fearing knee pain, walk long distances with stability, regain that feeling of strength in the legs that many people believe they lost forever after the age of 50 or 60. And here is the biggest mistake most men make when their knees start hurting. They simply stop training their legs completely. They think rest alone will solve the problem. But what almost nobody realizes is that weak muscles make the joints even more vulnerable. The less strength you have around your knees, the more pressure goes directly into the joint. It becomes a silent cycle of muscle loss, instability, and increasing pain. If traditional squats hurt your knees, that does not mean you are weak. In most cases, it means there is excessive patellar friction happening inside the joint. Repetitive movements with heavy loads, especially in joints already worn down over time, create chronic inflammation. And this inflammation gradually steals your mobility. But there is a smart way to regain leg strength without repeatedly moving the joint. And that is exactly what the wall sit does. The execution looks simple, but the details make all the difference. Place your entire back firmly against a solid wall. Now walk your feet slightly forward and slowly slide down until your thighs are parallel to the floor. The ideal goal is to form a 90-degree angle in your knees. At that moment, press your entire spine against the wall, from your lower back to your shoulders. Now comes the most important secret. Press your heels into the ground as if you were trying to push the earth away from you. You will feel an intense burning sensation in your leg muscles almost immediately. That is normal. It means the deep muscle fibers are finally being recruited again. But there is an important difference between muscle activation and joint pain. You should feel effort in the muscles, but never a sharp pain in the front of the knees. If that happens, raise your position slightly until you find a comfortable angle. And here is something fascinating about isometric exercises. Even without movement, they can generate extremely powerful muscle activation. This happens because the brain is forced to recruit more muscle fibers to keep the body stable under continuous tension. That is exactly why many Shaolin monks used static positions for hours to develop incredible strength without destroying the body through repetitive impact. But do not try to start at the advanced level. Your body needs to build this endurance gradually. During the first week, do not force the 90-degree angle. Lower yourself only to approximately 45 degrees. Hold that position for 3 sets of 20 seconds. It sounds easy until your legs begin to shake. And that shaking is important. It means stabilizing muscles that have been shut down are being reactivated. During the second week, lower yourself a little more, aiming to increase the time to 3 sets of 30 seconds. By the third week, try to achieve the perfect parallel position. Your final goal is to hold an intense wall sit for a full 60 seconds. And when you reach that level, you will notice something impressive. Everyday activities begin to feel much easier. Getting out of bed becomes simpler. Walking feels more stable. The fear of losing balance decreases. Your knees begin to feel more protected. Because here is the truth that few people understand. Strength is protection. Strong muscles work as natural shock absorbers for the joints. They absorb impact, stabilize movement, and drastically reduce daily wear and tear on the knees. That is exactly why physically strong people tend to maintain independence for much longer as they age. The horse stance. A seemingly simple exercise, yet capable of developing stability, mobility, and mental endurance in a way few people can imagine. If you truly want to build a solid physical foundation, open stiff hips, and develop total body balance, this will be one of the most important practices in your physical transformation. You are not just spreading your legs to look like a martial arts movie character. The horse stance goes far beyond that. This posture develops the structural control necessary for you to move confidently again. It is a practice that deeply strengthens the body's foundation, improves balance, and creates real joint stability. This is not about that passive gym flexibility where someone stretches for a few seconds and thinks the problem is solved. Here, the goal is to transform your hips, legs, and spine into a solid, resilient structure prepared for aging. And there is a very common mistake that practically every man over 50 makes when trying to regain hip mobility. They sit on the floor and start stretching cold muscles expecting miracles. They perform static stretches for a few minutes, and then become frustrated because nothing changes. But here is what few people understand. The problem is often not permanent joint stiffness. The real problem is a neurological blockage. Your brain literally locks these muscles because it understands that your pelvis is unstable. It is a protective mechanism. When the nervous system detects weakness, imbalance, or lack of structural control, it automatically limits mobility to prevent injuries. That is why so many people feel stiff hips all the time, even after stretching daily. The body does not trust its own stability, and until that confidence is restored, the muscles remain tight. This is exactly where the horse stance becomes so powerful, because it does not just stretch the hips. It forces your body to build strength, stability, and control at the same time. And when the brain realizes the structure is becoming strong again, it naturally begins releasing that accumulated tension. The execution must be done with close attention to detail. Place your feet approximately twice shoulder width apart. Your toes should point slightly outward. Now begin lowering your hips slowly, as if you were sitting in the air. Your torso must remain completely upright. Imagine your spine sliding downward against an invisible pole. This helps maintain proper alignment. Now comes one of the most important points of all. Push your knees outward firmly, aligning them directly with your toes. Never allow your knees to collapse inward. This detail completely changes the muscle activation of the exercise. When you push your knees outward, your glutes, inner thigh muscles, and deep stabilizers begin working intensely. And get ready, because you will feel intense tension in that region. It is not just ordinary muscle effort. It is your entire body trying to relearn lateral stability. And this is extremely important after the age of 50. Because one of the main causes of dangerous falls in older adults is not simply lack of strength. It is the loss of lateral stability in the hips and pelvis. As we age, the muscles responsible for balance begin to weaken silently. The result appears in small signs: difficulty climbing stairs, insecurity while walking quickly, loss of stability when changing direction, or even that constant fear of falling. Many people believe this is inevitable with age, but it is not. The body can still rebuild stability when it receives the right stimulus. And the horse stance does exactly that. It teaches the body to sustain tension in a controlled way, strengthening muscles that are almost never activated in traditional gym exercises. That is why Shaolin monks were able to develop incredibly strong legs without relying on machines or extreme weights. They trained structural control before seeking explosive movements. But once again, do not try to progress too quickly. During the first week, maintain a higher and more comfortable position. Lower yourself only about a quarter of the full movement. Hold for 3 sets of 20 seconds. It may look simple from the outside, but your legs will probably start shaking quickly. That is completely normal. The shaking shows that deep stabilizing muscles are being activated again. During the second week, try lowering yourself a few inches more and hold the position for a solid 30 seconds. By the third week, try to reach the position where your thighs are parallel to the floor. That is the real challenge. Your final goal will be to fight for an intense 60-second hold. And here is something impressive. The stronger your lateral stability becomes, the more confidence your body gains in daily movements. Walking begins to feel lighter. Balance improves. Posture changes. Even lower back pain may decrease because your hips finally begin supporting the body the right way. Because the truth is this: stability is not just something athletic. It is functional survival. It is what prevents dangerous falls as we age. It is what maintains physical independence. It is what allows you to remain active, walking, traveling, and living without the constant fear of limitations. Now let's talk about your shoulders. After the age of 50, many traditional chest and shoulder exercises begin causing more wear than benefits. Heavy bench presses, repetitive push-ups, and explosive movements end up placing excessive pressure on the shoulder joints, especially the rotator cuff, one of the body's most vulnerable regions as we age. That is exactly why the bottom push-up hold can completely change the way you build upper body strength. At first glance, it looks like just a paused push-up, but in practice, this exercise works like real armor for the shoulders, chest, and triceps. By keeping your body suspended just a few inches above the floor, you create extremely intense muscle activation without needing repetitive movements that wear down tendons and joints. The focus here is not to achieve that temporary gym pump. The goal is to build permanent stability, structural endurance, and functional strength that truly makes a difference in everyday life. And there is a very common mistake that destroys the shoulders of many men after 50. When they feel that familiar sharp pain in the shoulder during an exercise, they immediately think they will never be able to train chest or perform pushing movements again. Others do something even worse. They ignore the pain and continue forcing heavy movements repeatedly. The problem is that repetitive movements with heavy loads on already compromised joints literally wear down the tendons little by little. And this wear accumulates silently over the years. But here is what most people never learn. You can still develop impressive strength without needing to grind down your joints in the process. And the secret lies exactly in isometric control. The execution must be extremely careful. Start by getting into the traditional push-up position. Hands aligned below the shoulders, body straight, and core activated. Now lower yourself slowly, with total control, until your chest is only 1 or 2 inches above the floor. At that point, stop completely. Freeze the movement. Now comes the most important part. Keep your elbows close to your body the entire time. Never let them flare out to the sides, forming a T. This position is one of the main causes of shoulder compression and irritation. By keeping your elbows aligned close to your ribs, you protect the rotator cuff and distribute force much more safely. Next, strongly activate your lats, as if you were trying to break the floor with your hands. And remember that abdominal brace we built earlier in the hollow body hold? Now it comes into action again. Deeply contract your core to stabilize your entire spine. You will probably feel intense shaking in your chest, shoulders, and triceps almost immediately. And that is exactly what we want. This muscular vibration shows that deep fibers are being powerfully recruited. But there is one fundamental rule here. You should feel muscular effort, never sharp pain inside the shoulder joint. If there is joint pain, adjust your position immediately. And here is something interesting about isometric exercises. They can strengthen tendons and joints extremely efficiently because they create continuous tension without repetitive friction. This is perfect for people over 50, since the body begins needing far more stability than uncontrolled explosiveness. But do not try to progress too quickly. The goal is not to prove strength. It is to rebuild it the right way. During the first week, perform the position with your knees on the floor or using an elevated surface, such as a sturdy bench or strong table. This greatly reduces the load on the shoulders. Perform 3 sets of 15 seconds. During the second week, try performing the full exercise on the floor, supporting yourself only on your feet, holding for 20 seconds with maximum stability. By the third week, the goal will be to fight for an intense 30-second hold. And believe it, when your body starts shaking strongly in this position, you will understand how deeply it truly works the stabilizing muscles. And here is the benefit that few people notice until they begin practicing. You start regaining confidence in everyday movements. Pushing heavy doors no longer causes discomfort. Getting up from the couch using your arms becomes easier. Carrying bags, supporting yourself on the floor, or even lifting objects overhead starts to feel natural again. Because strong shoulders are not just for aesthetics. They represent physical independence. They represent the freedom to remain active without the constant fear of pain. And now that your shoulders are finally more stable, protected, and functioning without pain, it is time to reveal perhaps the greatest secret behind all these isometric methods inspired by the Shaolin monks. A principle capable of increasing the density and endurance of the entire body without requiring excessive impact or destroying your joints. Because true strength does not come only from movement. It is born from the ability to generate tension, control, and stability in every inch of the body. And this final technique is exactly what allows you to maximize raw strength without needing to move even a single inch of your body. Now the time has come to unite everything we have built so far. Because there is no point in having a strong core, resilient legs, and stable shoulders if your body still functions as separate pieces. The true goal is to transform everything into one solid, coordinated, and powerful structure. And for that, there is an extremely simple yet incredibly efficient exercise, the bear crawl hold. At first glance, many people underestimate this movement. It looks like just a common warm-up position. But that happens because most people have never performed this exercise correctly. When you keep your knees suspended just a few inches above the floor, something impressive happens. Your entire body enters a state of maximum coordinated tension. Shoulders, core, hips, legs, and even the hands begin working together as a single unit. And this is exactly the secret that many men lose after the age of 50. The body stops functioning in an integrated way. Strength exists in certain regions, but the connection between them is missing. That is why so many people experience instability, awkward movements, recurring pain, and that constant feeling of weakness even while trying to stay active. But here is the major mistake that destroys most people's progress. They try to regain fitness by jumping straight into explosive and complex movements. Burpees, fast exercises, heavy carries, intense circuits. All of that may seem efficient, but for joints already worn down, it often means only more inflammation, more pain, and entire days of recovery. The bear crawl hold works in a completely different way. It creates maximum functional tension without requiring repetitive impact. And that is extremely powerful for rebuilding body stability after the age of 50. The execution must be done with total attention. Start by placing your hands and knees on the floor. Position your wrists directly below your shoulders. Your knees should be aligned directly below your hips. Now remember that abdominal brace we developed in the hollow body hold. Deeply tighten your core as if you were preparing your body to absorb an impact. Next, place your toes on the floor and raise your knees just a few inches. Do not lift them too high. The goal is to keep your knees approximately 1 finger width above the ground. And now comes the most important part. Completely freeze in that position. Your entire body must remain firm. Your back needs to stay completely straight. Imagine there is a glass full of water resting on your lower back. If your spine moves or tilts, the glass would immediately fall. This alignment is fundamental because it teaches the body to stabilize the spine while the arms and legs work together. And here is what makes this exercise so powerful. Unlike many traditional movements, the bear crawl hold activates practically all the major muscle chains at the same time. The shoulders stabilize. The core locks the spine. The glutes support the hips. The legs remain under constant tension. Everything works together. In the first few seconds, you may think the exercise feels easy, but wait a little longer. Soon, intense shaking begins in the shoulders, core, and legs. And that does not mean weakness. It means deep stabilizing muscles that have been shut down for years are finally being reactivated. There is also another massive benefit that almost nobody talks about. This exercise drastically improves body awareness. The brain relearns how to properly align the entire body during movement and effort. And this greatly reduces the risk of injuries in daily life. Because here is an important truth about aging. Many falls and pains do not happen only because of lack of strength. They happen because the body loses structural coordination. The muscles stop working in sync. The bear crawl hold helps restore exactly that integration. And the best part is that all of this happens without destroying the joints. No impact, no jumping, no aggressive movements. But once again, the secret lies in smart progression. During the first week, hold the position for only 15 seconds. 3 sets will already be enough to deeply activate the entire body. In the second week, increase the time to 20 or 30 seconds. As your stability improves, you will notice something incredible. Simple tasks begin to feel lighter. Your body gains firmness. Your posture improves. Even the way you walk changes. And when you finally manage to hold this position for 45 to 60 seconds with total control, you will have developed something far more important than visible muscles. You will have created real functional tension, a deep strength that protects the joints, improves balance, and keeps your body resilient even as the years go by. Because at the end of the day, true strength after the age of 50 is not about explosiveness or ego. It is about control. It is about stability. It is about being able to remain active, independent, and pain-free while other people the same age begin losing mobility. But, as with all Shaolin methods, the secret is not in overdoing it. It is in building endurance in a smart and safe way. During the first week, simply lift your knees off the ground and hold the position for 3 sets of 15 seconds. It may sound like very little, but when the entire body enters maximum tension, even a few seconds become extremely challenging. During the second week, try to reach 3 full sets of 30 seconds. But there is one rule that must never be broken. Keep your back completely straight throughout the entire exercise. No arching the lower back. No raising the hips too high. The body must remain firm like one solid piece. By the third week, the goal will be to master the full position for an intense 60 seconds. And when you reach that level, you will probably feel your entire body shaking. Shoulders burning, core locked tight, legs fighting to hold the position. But that is exactly where the real transformation happens. Because mastering this integrated body tension means your body has finally returned to functioning as one strong and resilient unit. No more isolated muscles trying to compensate for weaknesses. No more joints suffering alone. Now there is connection, stability, control, and that completely changes the way you move in everyday life. Getting out of bed no longer feels difficult. Carrying weight becomes more natural. Balance improves. Posture changes. Even constant aches that once seemed normal with age begin to decrease when the body regains its ability to generate internal stability. And here is something important that few people understand. After the age of 50, the goal of training should not be to destroy the body and then try to recover afterward. The real goal is to build a body capable of continuing to function well for decades. A resilient body, a stable body, a body capable of handling life without constant limitations. That is exactly why these 5 isometric exercises inspired by Shaolin methods are so powerful. They do not rely on excessive impact, absurd loads, or explosive movements. They work on something far more important: deep structural tension. Each exercise has a specific purpose. The hollow body hold reconnects your deep core and protects your spine. The wall sit strengthens the legs and knees without joint wear. The horse stance restores lateral stability and mobility to the hips. The bottom push-up hold builds strong and resilient shoulders without damaging the rotator cuff. And the bear crawl hold connects all of this into one integrated and functional structure. Together, these exercises form a true roadmap for rebuilding strength and stability after the age of 50. And now the question is simple. Will you continue insisting on exercises that wear down your joints and leave your body increasingly painful? Or will you finally begin training in a smart way focused on longevity, stability, and real strength? Because the truth is this: aging does not mean accepting weakness. It does not mean living limited by pain. It does not mean losing physical independence. The body can still adapt. It can still rebuild muscle. It can still recover stability and endurance. But it requires the right stimulus. So stop using age as an excuse and start today. Even if it is with just one of these exercises. Just a few minutes a day can already begin completely changing the way your body moves and responds. Because in the end, true strength is not about lifting more weight than others. It is about being able to continue living with freedom, balance, and confidence as time goes by. And if you want to continue learning simple, effective, and straightforward methods to build real strength after the age of 50, keep following content like this. Your body is still capable of far more than you imagine.